Welcome to the Intuitive Empire Podcast, the place for coaches, healers, network marketers, and awakened souls who are all about creating success on their own terms. We are here to rise, and in doing so, we must honor our sensitive selves, activate our intuition, and lead with light. We are the ones we've been waiting for, the change makers, wayseers, and trailblazers. Join me, Jaya Rose, as we step fully into luminous leadership and create epic, intuitive empires that serve the highest good of all. Ready? Let's go. Hello and welcome, I would say back, but it's the first episode of the Intuitive Empire Podcast. I'm so excited with the new name change, and our guest today is perfectly aligned for the first inaugural name change show of the Intuitive Empire. Today, we are featuring my daughter, Becca Luna. If you have followed any of my content ever, you have seen me talk about her. You've probably seen pictures, but if you happen to be new to her, she's turning 22 this week. So she's a super young body, but an old soul. Wait till you see. She's amazing. She will get into her story, but the nuts and bolts is that she is building her own brand and her own intuitive empire. And we're going to chat about that and just check out the mind of a young 22-year-old who is already slaying the game. So welcome, Becca.
Oh my gosh, can you just walk around with me and introduce me to everyone like that?
I will if you'd like. Do you really want me to introduce you to everyone? Hi, I'm her mom and I'm her number one fan. But hey, what's a mom good for if it's not to be your number one fan? Am I right?
That. Yeah.
Okay. So let's give the folks a little bit of backstory since so much has happened for you in the last, it's really been a year and a half since things really changed for you. Is that right?
Yeah. I think it's just creeping up, actually. I think it's just about 14 months.
Oh my gosh. Okay. So almost a year ago, you were working as a waitress and you had been doing that for a couple years and making good money for your age. But I remember that you kind of hated it and it was leading you down a bit of a dark path of partying and being up late. And so will you just talk a little bit about what that was like and then what the transition was for you?
Sure. Yeah. Like what you said, it was just very comfortable. I did make pretty good money serving. I just got to a point where I knew it just wasn't serving me at my highest level. I definitely would have to work until 11 o'clock at night. And then it was just so easy to go get drinks and I'd sleep in. And it was just a cycle. And I was just ready for more. And I wanted to start traveling and being able to make money wherever I was. So I just was like, fuck it. Sorry, can I curse on this?
Yeah, we got the explicit sign on here, so they're warned.
But yeah, I got to a point where I was like, okay, so, and no offense to anyone who is older serving, but I knew that I was either going to get stuck and I could see myself being a 50-year-old server or I had to get out. So I made the decision to quit and never look back.
Yeah. And so it was perfect, of course, divine timing that I was needing somebody to help me in my business. Right. And
it's so true.
And I don't think that correct me. Okay. But I definitely didn't know how good you are at tech and how, no, seriously, because what happened is I hired her as my virtual assistant, like my full-time virtual assistant, but not really enough to live for, not a great living, but enough to kind of get you started. Right.
It was a grace period for sure.
It was a grace period. That's a great way to say it. And so it was interesting because I kind of just threw stuff at you, but what happened is all of this genius started pouring out of you, basically, where it was super clear that there were things you were really good at and things that you weren't as good at. So will you share a little bit about what you found that you were really good at? And then just an FYI, we only worked together, what was it, 4 or 5 months?
I don't even think it was that long, honestly. I think it was
at least 3.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. I think it was 3 months,
Okay.
but it all happened really, really quickly. I think what did I start out as? Just I think I did communications and I managed your group.
Yeah.
Um,
And you
and
built
then
stuff.
and then you threw at me a website and what were we on? I think we were on Teachable. And so I started doing the back end of things.
Yep.
And I learned very quickly that that is what I wanted to do. I loved it. So when you said you needed a website built, I took the reins and yeah, I've been doing it ever since. It kind of was just like momentum, word of mouth. And
Mhm.
then when we went our separate ways, that's when I really dove in fully.
Mhm. Well, and it did happen really fast because I know that, and what happened for me is that that's when I had a nosedive in my business, and I went into my dark night of the soul, not even knowing what the heck I was going to be selling anymore, right? So it was like I was kind of like, "Hey, come join me," and then I was like, "Oh, but actually, my ship just sank. So can you like get a life preserver and go swim somewhere else?"
No, I definitely, yeah, jumped in my own boat and I had to sail on my own. But
Yep.
it was, like I said, just that grace period was just a great transition for me. I'm so blessed that I had that. Definitely wouldn't have been as easy for me to just quit my job and have no connects, no network,
Yeah.
and no skills yet, and just go out into
Yeah.
the world and be like, what can I do? But
No.
it was, yeah, it was definitely a learning curve, but it was amazing.
It is a major learning curve to start anything new. So it is amazing that you had that time, to like get used to what you were doing. But what I find really interesting and why it's so relevant to creating your own intuitive empire is that there is so much blind faith that stepping out into your own, onto your own, into your own path, your purpose, and having your own business, being an entrepreneur. It's
Hmm.
crazy how much intuition it really requires, right? So did you feel that where like did you feel like you were really being led by your intuition?
Yeah, absolutely. I think I've kind of always lived my life like that. I've always let like my soul and like really what I want guide me and not what people tell me. I mean, all
Oh yeah.
transparency, I
Here,
dropped out of
here.
high school because I just didn't feel it. And I knew that I was going to be able to find success on my own. And I
Yeah.
don't regret anything at all. But that's just like an example of how I've kind of always have trusted my intuition, knowing that
Yeah.
I will make shit happen.
I mean, that is so valuable right there, just in terms of working with the laws of the universe to say, I know that it's going to be okay. I know that I'm going to be successful, but I have absolutely no idea how. You never could have,
Mhm.
I mean, I never heard you talk about being an Instagram influencer or having an online business or being a graphic designer. Never. You
Mhm.
know, and it's like that's what's so cool that when something feels right, that's the indication and when to move. Like
Yeah,
now I know. And all I had to know before is that, yes, it's going to be okay and it's going to be amazing and like allow the signs to come in. And I feel like
totally.
you're
That's when
really
you
good at
thank you. Well, that's when you pair intuition with action
that.
because what you just said, I mean, I took action. Like if you look at the in just a
Yeah.
year of what I've built and done, I
Yeah.
mean, not trying to toot my own horn, but it's
Do it.
pretty incredible.
Do it. Actually, yeah. Will you share with us what has happened? So we kind of give them the backstory, right? Like that's how you got started. But what the heck is happening now? What have you built? And your brand, Brave Babe.
Yeah. Well, let's see. So I guess let's go back to a year ago when we kind of went our separate ways. I traveled. I bought a one-way ticket to Thailand and Bali. And then was really when I started feeling inspiration to go on to Instagram.
Mm,
Um, I really just felt this pull. I was listening to success stories of other creative entrepreneurs of what they were doing and what they were able to transpire and all this stuff. And so I went on the trip really with a determination to find that myself. And it was a slow go for I think, a while. But after Thailand and Bali, I was still slowly building my web design business. But my heart really was on Instagram. And I kind of was allowing myself that. I
Mm,
definitely had some rocky financial months because of that, because web design was where I was making money, but Instagram was where my heart was. And so
mm.
I just allowed that time. I knew that if I invested in myself and I put some money on my credit card, that was going to be okay, because whatever my heart wanted was where it was going to lead me to the biggest success.
Hey, babe, I hope you're enjoying the show, and I'll let you get right back to it. But remember your free gift, the 7 Steps to Magnetic Embodiment Guidebook. All you need to do is text the word embody to 444-999, or head on over to thejayarose.com and download it there. Either way, you're going to love it. It breaks down my 7-step system for embodying your highest self and magnetizing your dreams to you. So simply text the word embody to 444-999, or head over to thejayarose.com. And I cannot wait to hear what you think about it. All right, enjoy listening.
So then I ended up moving to Maui, and on one of the best places in the world to get content. So I ended up growing my Instagram following pretty fast. I think I went from like 2,500 to now 16,500 followers
Mm,
in just 5 months.
wow.
And along with that, I've gotten super invested into photography. And now I'm really invested now in harnessing my skills in web design and now Instagram strategy. So it really is incredible how you look back in a year and you just are like, wow, I never would have imagined all this stuff could have happened. And now this is where I'm at.
Mm. What do you feel like was the scariest part of it?
Hmm. Let's see. I
Or-
don't know. I think it kind of changed. Sometimes it definitely was scary as I was putting money on my credit card and I was like, shit, like what if, I think it was just the what
Mm,
ifs, like what if I fail, or what if I end up, no one likes what I do, or I don't know. But I honestly, when I had those feelings, I would allow myself to feel them, but I really cut that shit really quick. And so when I look back, I don't really think of my time over the last year feeling a lot of fear, because I'd switch it and be like, so what is this fear like sparking in me? Why am I feeling like this? And
mm,
then use that as like fire and be like, no, fuck that. This is what I'm
mm.
gonna do. And it would help immensely.
So, why do you think you're able to do that? I guess this is a two-part question. One is that you see, a lot of the people that I talk to and my audience are maybe younger than me, but closer to my age than your age, probably. And there's a lot more fear. Like a lot of people my age, I think, just deal with fear and
Mm,
insecurity and resistance. And I feel like I haven't seen you deal with those same things. And even when we talk about it, sometimes you're like, what? Why?
yeah.
Why would that be? And so it really is it's a cool depiction, like a cool reality to see. Well, look what happens when you manage your fear. Like imagine what your life would be like if you didn't have that fear.
Hmm.
Imagine what your life would be like if you didn't allow that resistance to hold you back. Right? Like this
Yeah.
is what I teach people. They need to coach with me for months to get this. And
Well,
so what do you
I
feel like, yeah, what do you feel like has influenced that for you, and do you see what I'm talking about?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I definitely see the difference, where you're saying people that are your age versus my generation.
Mm,
Um, but also, it goes to show, I mean, you're conditioned. So you're just practicing that. So when you've been practicing letting fear hold you back and having all this resistance and not taking action and following your intuition, that's 20 to 40 years in the making of that. And so,
mhm,
fuck yeah, that's going to take months and months to
mhm,
re-register your mind. But the good thing about our age, and that's what I do, that's like why I'm so passionate about sharing my message and showing people what's possible at my age is
Mhm.
because you're now just starting. And I think I've done the work early on. Whereas I do see people that are my age kind of following down
Mm.
that track. So I'm here before they're conditioned for 20, 40 years, to cut that
Mhm.
shit out and find new practices.
Mm. Well, how do you feel about the age you're at and what, I mean, you are conditioned already, right? And they say that the
Yeah.
subconscious mind is actually conditioned by the time you're 7 or 8 years old. You've actually learned the way the world is. So you have most of your core beliefs around all the things that really matter, like money and relationships and the way people show up. And so, what for you have you needed to undo, if anything, around your own conditioning?
Hmm. I don't know. I feel like I may be a lucky one where I just was born like that. Like I woke up like
Mm.
this, but
Mhm.
I don't feel like I've had to do like an immense amount of work
Of
around,
undoing.
let's say, like my
Wow.
mindset and stuff.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think I don't hold as much emotion to things.
Mm.
And so I'm just like, this is what's up. I'm very analytical. And so I think that's kind of helped me in a way
Mhm.
where what you're saying is like this resistance and fear and stuff when you involve your emotions in with business. It can definitely bring up those feelings more so where I'm just like, I don't really care what people think. This is what needs to happen. So I'm just going to do it and like step out of my comfort zone and done.
Mm. Mhm. So it's just more, you're saying it's more straightforward for you?
Yeah, I'd
Yeah.
say so.
Well, I mean, y'all listening right now to the Intuitive Empire podcast, like the best way to build an intuitive empire is to actually listen to your intuition and take action on it, period. Right?
Yeah.
Let's just mic drop and goodbye because that's it. But it's like, that's not as easy for a lot of people because there are a lot of X, Y's, and Z's in between the intuition and the action, or in between the allowing the intuition to come through, like the listening and creating the space and being able to even hear that. So
Hmm.
do you have practices, or does this just come easy for you?
Practices meaning like morning
Practices,
rituals and
yeah, like practices that help with intuition.
I mean, I write down in my journal quite often, like what I want. I set intention for myself, um, but I don't have like a morning routine where I do, you know, meditation and drink my tea, and then I don't
Mm-hmm.
do that. But I don't even know if that necessarily matters. I think if it definitely can, because then you can just it's easier for you to tap in,
Mm-hmm.
if you're
Mm-hmm.
not tapped in. But I just have kind of I'm always in this state of like dreaming and setting intentions and like what I want and like what I really want. And I don't listen to other people. I mean, you know that about me.
Yeah, y'all, I can attest to that.
But I don't know. I feel like I kind of am just always in like a constant state. Like I just follow my intuition, like no matter what.
Mm. Is there, hey, can you think of a time that you didn't or haven't?
Um, I mean, yeah, definitely. And I think any of those times has never led me to like a place that I'm proud of.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
you know,
Mm-hmm.
at
Yeah,
least
well,
not for me. Might be on the outside, but at least for my like soul and like what sparks me. If I didn't follow my intuition, then it led me to a road that like I needed to just completely take a
mm-hmm.
180 from.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well, it is so powerful. And I feel like, it really is our family. Just so you know, this is it. There's a lot of intuition. My grandmother, my dad's mom, was highly intuitive. She was not overly emotional, very strong. I mean, you knew her, but she did pass when you were about 8 years old, 7 or 8 years old. So you met
Hmm.
her a number of times. But I call it having the gift. And
Mm.
my mom definitely super highly sensitive and intuitive. And I think that it's a real time right now for women who have this gift to rise up and use it in business. Like
Mhm.
use it to follow the clues and the cues that lead to passion. Right? Because that's what ultimately what I've seen you do is you're like, well, I have a passion for this.
Mhm.
And when you follow it all the way, it because of the digital era, it's so possible to create an empire, literally.
Yeah, absolutely. And then yeah, you create the empire based solely around you, your passions, and what will like really make you fucking happy.
Mm-hmm. And so I feel like this is kind of moving, you know, just to be transparent, it's okay if I call you out a little bit. No, it's not.
Depending.
Tiffany. um, no, before we got on, you were kind of nervous, right? And you were like, well, what are you going to ask me? And
Yeah.
you were like, well, I don't have a really strong message, and I said, well, that's not, I'm not trying to get your message out of you. We're just going to talk. So it's fine. But I think I think you're sort of talking about your message right now. And I know that you're talking about adding on helping people, and you're going to launch your own Instagram course, which with Instagram strategy comes all of these feelings for most people around visibility and around what their own passion is. Like if you're not sharing something you're passionate about, is not going to it's not going to get you very
Mhm.
far, right? So I know
Yeah.
that that's all built into what you're doing. So if you could kind of look ahead a little bit, even just 6 months or a year if you could, do you feel like this is the direction you want to go in terms of helping people?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I have a lot of things in the works. Called me out for being nervous, but I'm actually really stoked to be doing this because definitely in 6 months I will be launching, or if not, have already launched my own podcast,
Mm.
which is very exciting. It's going to be the Brave Babe podcast.
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, I think in 6 months I will be doing what I'm doing, but times 10.
Yeah. Yeah. So amazing. And it really is such a cool testament. So I think our stories are actually similar in some ways. I barely graduated high school, which is probably why I was not a stickler making you go when I knew that wasn't, that I knew that you were smart and capable, but that you weren't thriving in
Yeah.
in those conditions. And that's exactly how I was. But stack on that I had you when I was 20,
It
right? So
doesn't make it easier.
well, it doesn't. It not necessarily. In some ways, though, it does make some things easier, like really honoring your time and being really for real about what you value. Do you know what I mean?
Hmm.
When you're a mom and a young mom. And so, but I do think that we're really similar in the way of the only real option is to follow your intuition and figure out what lights you up and follow that.
Yeah,
Because
totally.
there ain't shit to fall back on.
Well, it's just like, why not?
Yeah.
I always ask myself that. Like when something comes up and I want to do it, but it kind of makes me nervous or gives me resistance, or I'm like fearful of being seen or judged, or,
Mhm.
I just ask myself, like, why does that matter? Like, why does that matter to me? And if it does matter, because most of the time your answer will be, oh, it really doesn't. And then you go do it, and you
Mhm.
can get past those blocks. And then if it really does matter, then there's probably something bigger that needs to be asked.
Mhm. Yeah, I love that. That's a great process. And I can't wait for your podcast because I'm sure you're going to be talking about this kind of stuff. Yeah?
Yeah, absolutely. I'll be talking about, like mindset, intuition, and then Instagram, business, web design,
Mhm.
all the good stuff.
Mhm.
But I am really excited just to share the message, especially for my generation, but for all.
Mhm.
Just that, like, you really can just have it all. You just have to be able to take action, but also just follow your heart and don't let like fear people judging you or failing, anything like that, get in your way. Because fuck, like life is so short and there's no reason that you need to spend like another day not living fully in your purpose.
So good. Sound bite right there. I love
Drop the
it.
mic.
Dropping it. So if you could, before we go, if you could help us all with our Instagram, please. We all need help. What do you feel like? Okay, because let's just notice that there is a difference between your Instagram being gorgeous and traveling and all these cool pictures, and I'm just a mom and working from home. Okay. So a lot of the people, a lot of my audience probably are moms
Yeah.
and maybe don't understand how to, like, how do you make Instagram work for you if you're not super sexy and young? And I am super
Well,
sexy,
thank
but
you.
hey.
I mean, I guess my answer to that would be, well, you're not just a mom, and there are other moms out there that will relate to you. So it doesn't really matter that your photos aren't perfect or in, the most tropical place on earth, because that's who my niche is. But you're looking for your niche and people that will resonate with you and your story. And that's what is the most important thing ever, is sharing who you are, your story, and like the real shit. Because I mean, let's be honest, so much of social media and Instagram is, I guess you could say, fake. I don't really like using the
Curated.
term fake, but curated. And really, like, you put your life on a pedestal. A lot of people only share the most perfect times, but it's really important to be authentic and show like really what life is like to be a mom, or what it's like on the down days of being a business owner, and getting real and showing people, because that is what is relatable.
Mm-hmm.
Life is not perfect. Life is not a perfect Instagram feed. So I think it's really important to figure out what you want to be known for on social media, Instagram specifically, and what you want to be relatable on in a
Mm-hmm.
very personal, and like, you have to open up. I mean, if you want people to really know you and feel you, and which then typically leads to buying from you, then you have to share stuff that you maybe wouldn't really think of sharing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I love it. So authentic and vulnerable.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. And real. But then also use a consistent filter or what?
Yeah, I mean, I do think like the content that goes out is really important. I would recommend anyone who has an old iPhone, get a new iPhone. It's a business investment. The new iPhones have incredible cameras.
Mm.
You don't need a DSLR. You don't need to be a professional photographer. You can shoot on your iPhone,
Mm-hmm.
but invest, get a new iPhone. Use apps that have consistent filters. My best recommendation is Lightroom. I love
Mm-hmm.
Lightroom. But you don't have to spend like hours on YouTube learning like I did. You can
Mm-hmm.
just throw on a filter and use that same filter on every single photo, because that will make your feed look really congruent. And
Mm-hmm.
that is what, what you thrive for.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and engagement. I mean, I would say that that's a really, really important component, because you got to give to get. And
Mm.
so spending, let's say, 20 minutes a day, a couple days a week, will immensely improve your engagement back. You'll be noticed, you'll get followed, you'll get comments back, so giving to get. That's what I say.
And you're talking about commenting and liking other people's stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay.
Engaging on other people that, yeah, that are in your ballpark.
Such good advice. So be authentic, tell your story, be vulnerable, use a consistent filter, talk about what lights you up, right?
Mm-hmm.
And give to get, and actually get out there and like people's stuff and comment so that they like your stuff and comment for you.
Mm-hmm.
Boom.
Exactly. Boom.
Okay, now I need to go so I can go do all that stuff. No. Sometimes the power is not in the knowledge. But you do have like a PDF guidebook or something about Instagram, don't you?
I do, yeah. It's on the homepage of my newly rebranded website,
Okay.
actually.
All right. And that's just beccaluna.com
Yep,
with two C's.
beccaluna.com.
Okay. So I'll put that in the show notes so they can, and if you want to give me the link for the actual, PDF, we can throw that in the show notes too. But you guys should all
Awesome.
check out her website since she's a website designer as well. And you guys should all check out my website if you haven't, because she designed it and it's freaking epic.
Woo woo.
And so all of that will be in the show notes for you guys. So do you have anything else you want to share? Do you have any questions for me?
Let's see. Why the name change?
So this came to me a couple months ago. Actually, it came through Kevin Orazlan. You know him.
Mm-hmm.
He's amazing. I've had him on the show, and he interviewed me after I interviewed him. And I was using this something called the empathic empire because was really, because I talk to empaths and sensitive people, and it just made sense. And then he kind of accidentally said intuitive empire when I was on the call with him. And I was like, oh, actually, that's the thing. I just loved how it sounded. I think there's something about it that is just powerful to me because I don't think there's anything more powerful than your intuition, as I believe that's your direct link to God. I believe that your intuition is God speaking through you. And so as a human, that is the thing. And that's why I'm so passionate about helping specifically highly sensitive people, because on the other side of high sensitivity is intuition. And so I'm like, that's the gateway, right? And I know how to help people tap into their intuition. And so for me, like the idea of an empire, like being the empress of your empire, is so what's possible. It's like this, right? It's like this, this is what's possible. And if it's not what you're shooting for with your business, then you're not playing big enough.
I love that.
And so it's the combination of everything that I'm about, where when I pivoted and really went back home to life coaching, I left my whole business coaching business, but I can't leave that. And I'm not teaching people how to own their intuition and their power so they can just sit at home and do nothing. I'm teaching it to them so they can build a freaking empire and change the world. Right. So it just makes sense for me. And I'm not afraid to change names.
Really?
But I try to look at it not as changing, but as enhancing.
Yeah. Evolving.
Yeah. So I feel a real resonance, and I feel like ultimately it's what I'm about, if you really think about it.
Totally resonates.
Yeah. Okay, good. Well, thanks. And thanks for
Of
asking.
course.
Love it.
Love
well,
it.
You guys check out Becca's website. When she has the podcast up, we'll be checking that out as well. I'm sure she's going to be asking me to be on it. I don't know.
Haven't I already?
I don't know if I make the cut, if I'm a brave babe or not, but
I think you can play.
I think I can play. So thank you so much for being here. This is
Thank you for having me. This is so fun.
Yeah, it's so cool.
Broke my fear. Now I'm going to go buy a Yeti and start my own podcast.
Yes. So you guys, it's just that easy. So what fear are you getting past right now and going and taking action anyway? That's my question.
Love it.
Okay, you guys. Well, thanks, Becca. And thank you guys.
Thanks everyone for listening.
Yeah. And
I hope to connect with some of you guys.
All right. Perfect. And tag us on Instagram, since Becca's the Instagram gal. Take a screenshot and follow her. She's Be Free Luna. And
tag us. That'd be so fun. I want to see.
We'll throw you guys in our Instagram stories. And thanks so much for being here on this edition of the Intuitive Empire. Yay. Thanks so much for listening and being here. And if you loved this episode, please take a moment to rate it on iTunes. I feel so honored when I read your reviews, and I would love to feature you on the podcast as a spotlight review. Also, find me on Instagram at Jaya Rose, and I would be so, so excited to share your story into my story. I just love seeing the feedback. and that you're listening. So share it out on social media, share it with somebody who you think it could benefit, because us showing up for other people is what this is all about. It's a ripple effect of change, and we do that by sharing. So thanks for being here, and I'll see you next time on Bliss Boss Talks.